Hi, it's Vicky here, and today I'm designing for Limor Weber Designs. Today I'll make a card using this adorable stamp set by Indigo Blue. So I'm trying to find out a couple of papers here, which I have already cut down to size, and now I'm using my distress tool by Prima, and I'm going all around the edges. This will add an old look to my papers, and I'm also using my scissors to create a notch there. And with my distressing and my mini blending tool, I'll go all around the edges. I'm using Vintage Photo distressing. When you are curling up some of the edges from your papers, it's always helpful to spray them first with a bit of water. This really softens the fibers and makes curling super easy. This is going to be the background for my card, so I'm going to work a bit on it to make it more interesting. This stamp is a design by Limor Weber for Indigo Blue, and it's called Rugged Edges. So the set comes with 4 different borders. Now I went all around the edges to add some interest, and now it's time to work with my main focal point. So I'm going to stamp this girl with archival ink. I'm using archival ink because I'm going to be watercoloring later on, and I want this to be waterproof. However, I'm not working on a watercolor paper. This is thick cardstock paper, and it's off-white, so I thought it was nice to work on this and not on a totally white cardstock. I want my colors to be a bit muted. And that means that I won't be adding a ton of water on the paper since it's not for watercoloring. I'll do all my watercoloring with gelatos. Gelatos is a great medium by Faber-Castell, and you can make ton of techniques with it. So today you'll see me how I watercolor. As you can see, I have applied my gelato colors on top of my packaging there, but you can always use your non-stick crafting mat, or you can use your palette or a stamping block, something that it will not absorb gelatos. And now I'm just dipping my brush into water and applying the color on my image. The 2 gelatos colors that I'm using for her face and her skin is peach and guava. This is a watercolor pencil by Faber-Castell, and I'll go ahead and color her lips and then go over it with a bit of water to blend it out. Using the exact same technique, I'll go ahead and color her hair as well as her clothes. Now that I have finished coloring my image, I'm going all over it with my blending tool and add some shading here and there, as well as coloring her bag. I'm doing so because I don't want to have a clean look on this card. I'm going for the old and distressed look. So I'll go all over the edges as well. And my image is ready. And this is when my cat Ginger decided to join us and say hello. And so I have to give him some love or he will never go. And as you can see, he has no respect for what I'm doing. He is just standing there on top of my project. And finally he decided to go, so let's go back to what I was doing. First of all, I'm going to stamp my sentiment on my card. I'm using the same distress ink, that's vintage photo, and I went for thinking of you sentiment, which I think it's very appropriate with that girl. I'll be working on my background again because I think it's quite plain. I'll be adding some texture on my background with whipped sparkle. This is a medium by Faber-Castell and it's like a modeling paste. And as you can see, you can easily color it and make it any color you like with gelatos. Now I'll use one of my stencils and go over it. A little goes a long way in this technique. I'm going to create some splashes with my gelatos and water. As you can see, I'm using a small brush and this will ensure that I have small splashes. Use a bigger brush and you have bigger splashes. It all depends on what you want to do. Now that my whipped sparkle is dry, I'm going over it with my blending tool to help the texture pop. And so now I'm pretty much happy with my background and it's time to assemble my card. I'm using tape adhesive at the back of my first panel, which I'm going to adhere on top of another pattern paper. And you can take a look at the texture. Here is a close-up. I just love how whipped sparkle looks. And I think from this close-up you can tell how awesome it is. And now I'm going to stick my girl on top of my card. Now I'm using tape adhesive at the back just to add a bit of dimension. The tape adhesive that I'm using isn't too thick and that will add a bit of dimension but will not make my card too bulky. And now that my girl is in place, I'm going to embellish my card just a bit more. This piece of pattern paper is by Prima and I like it because it has the flowers that's the same color as her t-shirt and I want to bring that color in my card a bit more. So I'm going to cut it down and after distressing it a bit with my blending tool as well as the distress tool, I'll stick it just behind the panel. So I'm using my tape adhesive at the back. And I just love how it brings everything together by adding the same color here and there. Now I'm using my white gel pen. This is Uniball and I'm going to add some highlights on her shoes as well as on her head ribbon. And you'll see the finished card that I did add a bit of highlights here and there all over here. So now that that's done, I'll go ahead and stick those flowers. The flowers were actually cut out from a pattern paper which is also by Prima and I'm going to stick them here and there. So one is going to go on her head and you can see that it's the same color as her t-shirt. I'll place the rest of the flowers at the very bottom of the card to create a ground for her as if she is in a field of flowers or something. I don't want her to look as if she is floating in the card. I'm using a gel medium to stick everything down. To embellish my card a bit more, I'm going to add a piece of ribbon and also I'll be adding some pearls at the centers of the flowers. My card is a standard card that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so now I'm going to adhere my panel on top of my card base. And my card is pretty much ready. I have also went ahead and added a couple of butterflies. I used basically the same pattern paper and punched them out. You can take a look at the photos at the end of the video. And that was the card for today. I hope you had fun and got inspired. And if you did, don't forget to leave me a comment as well as give me thumbs up on my YouTube channel. All the supplies are listed and linked below the video on my YouTube channel as well as on my blog and on Limor Weber Designs blog. Thank you all for watching.